Okay, this is an interview with Mark Lavery. He is the Director of Rugby at Ampthill Rugby Club.
Am I looking at you, Ian, or looking at
No, look at me, if that's okay. Thanks. Mark, sorry, did you get that on the top or not? Yeah, fine. How do you feel about your grant application being rejected?
Let down. We were led to believe 2 months ago by both Sport England and Deloitte it would be a combination of grants and loans, and we were told 10 days ago there won't be any grants and it'll be loans only.
And what is the implication of that then?
Well, for us now, obviously the dreadful circumstances of the COVID virus, we have to rely on sponsors, members and fans to pay for our COVID testing regime, and COVID testing is anywhere between £25,000 and £40,000 a month. For a small rugby club like Ampthill, that's a huge amount of money.
Will you take up the offer of a loan though?
Under no circumstances. We're a community club. We're participating in an elite competition, but we've got 1,000 playing members and we own our own facility. We're not about to borrow money to participate in a reasonably short season and pay that back over 10 or 20 years. We've got to try and find a way to the start line if we possibly can by relying on other people.
You've said that it actually puts in jeopardy your participation in the championship if it starts in March.
Correct. I think that we applied for a £380,000 grant and we were hoping that would cover the cost of testing as a minimum, offset the lack of crowds, because I don't see crowds being involved in the competition, certainly in the short term, offsets the damage of no bar. And of course we've had no income for nearly a year now because the competition was rightly shut partway through March last year.
How likely is it that the season will start in the first week of March, which is my understanding that is the plan?
I think the competition will definitely start. I'm fairly certain that 12 clubs will not participate, and I think most have said now that they will participate, and I know that a number are taking pretty substantial loans to make sure they do participate.
What's the feeling, the general feeling among championship clubs about the start of the season?
It's difficult for me to comment on behalf of everybody else, but there is certainly an underlying disappointment with the government winter sports survival package and the way that the investment board have turned down everybody's application for a grant, and it seems to be only Championship Rugby that has been highlighted for no grant, because you'll be aware that football's had grants, we know that local netball teams have had grants, and we know that cricket has had grants, but nobody in Championship Rugby. And in certain cases we understand that, but we were told it was an individual application and that they would view each application on its own merits. They appear not to have viewed our application on that basis.
Do you have any grounds for appeal, for going back to them?
Well, we were told we're not allowed to talk to the Sports Winter Survival Package Board, and we had to communicate through Sport England and Deloitte, and we've done that and made clear our frustrations and disappointment, but at this point, no change.
So how are you going to afford to pay for the COVID tests?
We've been enormously successful with the Just Funding page. At this point, we can cover the first 2 months testing, and if that means that we get to the start of the season, just means we have to work very hard to continue this level of momentum and funding to get through the season. So we don't underestimate the challenges that will afford us.
Are you kind of, perhaps along with people across the country, are you waiting to see what the government says in mid-February in terms of where we are with lockdown?
I think obviously the national lockdown is a real issue for everybody. From our point of view, if that starts to ease and we can get some form of crowd back, it makes it a whole heap easier. But we're monitoring the situation daily. It's a live situation. We're just trying to make sure we're in a position where we're at the start line on March the 6th at this point.